What do we have here? A DSLR lens with all these numbers here. We have 18, we have 50, we have 135, we have 200. And as we turn the lens, based on these numbers, the lens extends and shortens. So what exactly do these numbers mean? Hi everyone, Maximilian here. Whether you're using a phone camera or a DSLR, you will have came across the term focal length. What exactly is focal length and how does it affect our image? So in this video, we'll explore how focal length actually works and the different types of focal lengths in helping you understand the concepts of photography better and making that decision when purchasing the right lens with the right focal length based on your photography needs. Focal length is the distance between the point where light entering the lens converge with the camera image sensor. Focal length is described on each lens as millimeters. Examples are such as 35, 50, 85 millimeters, and so on. Broadly speaking, the shorter the focal length, the shorter the length of the lens, while the longer the focal length, the longer the length of the lens. Now, as mentioned before, camera sensors can be divided into several types, and in this context, they are the full frame and crop sensor, in which the sensors affect what's known as the effective focal length, which is a term to show what a lens can capture in a 35mm sensor. For a full frame sensor, it is a 1:1 ratio, which means if you're using a 50mm lens, the effective focal length that's used by your camera will be at 50mm. While for crop sensors, and depending on the camera brand you're using, it can be a ratio of 1:1.6 or 1:1.5, which means if you're using a 50mm lens, the effective focal length that's used by your camera will be at 80mm. In case you're wondering, our human eye field of view is equivalent to a 50mm focal length on a full frame sensor camera. Hey, in case you missed it, be sure to check out my previous video on the different types of cameras with their different types of sensors. I'll put the link right here. So how does focal length effectively affect our final images? The field of view, or the area of coverage of the scene. So the shorter the focal length, the larger the area of the coverage of the scene you're planning to capture, with the foreground elements being emphasized and the background subjects appearing less prominent, while a longer focal length could capture further subjects by zooming into the subject itself. Next, we talk about distortion. So using a shorter focal length could potentially create distortion due to its wider angle of view and the build of the lens. So in portrait photography, this short focal length can create this big at small body effect, while using a longer focal length can reduce this distortion. Next, we talk about the depth of field. As mentioned in my previous video, the depth of field determines the amount of photograph that appears sharp from front to back. Simply speaking, the shorter the focal length, the wider the depth of field, and while the longer the focal length, the narrower the depth of field. More on depth of field in this link over here, and down in the description below. In the case where you want to bring the background closer to the person or subject whom is located closer to the camera, using a longer focal length can create this effect. Now, in more practical terms, camera lenses in general are classified into 5 descriptive categories depending on their equivalent focal length. Now, we must note, however, the recommended style or should deem suitable, but the different focal lengths are by no means definitive, as it overall depends on the photographer's creativity in capturing the scene. First, we have the ultra-wide angle lenses. Ultra-wide angle lenses offer focal length less than 14mm, which offers the widest field of view, however the greatest image distortion. The type of lens is usually used to capture landscape photography. Next, we have wide-angle lenses, which offer focal lengths ranging from 24 to 35mm. We have also the standard angle lenses, which have focal lengths of 35mm to 50 or 70mm. They generally show us how we see the world, and is usually used in street photography. Next, we have telephoto lenses. These are lenses which goes more than 70mm to 300mm. While providing greater reach, this lens provides a lesser lens distortion and can be used for portraiture photography. Next, we have the Super-Telephoto lenses, which offer a focal length of more than 300mm. Be mindful, however, that pricings can go up a lot higher and is usually used in wildlife, sports, or even deep astrophotography. Take-home message. Focal length ultimately depends on the type of photography we're interested in and the style of photo shoot. By bearing in mind on how focal length could bring effect to the field of view, distortion, depth of field, and compression of the image. I hope this video could bring some clarifications to focal length and help you in purchasing the right lens with the right focal length depending on your photo shooting style. As always, if you find this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and leave a comment to share your thoughts. We'd love to hear them. Or watch my other videos in this channel for a clearer understanding on photography. Till then, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.